Earlier today, it was announced that the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour are going to be merging together. Yes, that LIV Tour, the same LIV Tour that took away the PGA's top players just less than 2 years ago. And the worst part is, not a single player, not a single staff member, not a single anyone knew anything about this except for a handful of people that represented both sides. What just happened? So what does this all mean? Well, for starters, we have to look at the PGA commissioner himself, Jay Monahan. This guy, when LIV first was announced, was the biggest advocate for anyone not joining LIV. I mean, he said that you have to stay loyal to the PGA. You can't take this money because of who the league is sponsored by, the Saudi Arabian government. You got to be loyal to America. You got to be loyal to the PGA Tour with all of this history. I mean, he said things like this government caused 9/11 and they supported terrorists, which is all true. But now he's taken that exact same money that was threatened to be used on all of his former players that ended up going. And so now he's taken that same money and he didn't let any of his players know, even the big names. None of his executives knew. No one knew except for the Jay Monahan and the top people at LIV, and half of them didn't even know. I mean, something has to be going on here. And yes, you can say that because both of these tours were fighting each other, there have been so much litigation and one another suing each other, things like that, that at the end of the day, it's just best for business for both of these tours to merge together. And I would completely agree with you there. But the LIV Tour hasn't even existed for 2 full years yet. Why are they all of a sudden best friends and merging together? That doesn't make any sense. Wait a second. Yes, it does. Of course, there's one thing that always makes sense when it comes to business like this, and that's the money, baby. This is textbook. I mean, there's 5 guys in a room who come together who have the most money in the entire sport, and they come to an agreement to where it just gives them more money. I mean, LIV and PGA, they're going to be back together again, which is smart for business, absolutely. But with how much crap each side had been talking on each other, Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman for LIV, and Rory, Jay Monahan, JT, Spieth, just to name a few, Tiger, of course. What? Why? I don't understand why this has happened so quick. I can understand that it's best for business years down the road, but when you want to build LIV up on its own platform before you try and combine them all to where you just make this big mess. And the players, oh my goodness, all day long, every single player has shown big disgust over this decision. Like I said before, not a single person outside of a handful of people knew that this was happening. Every single PGA Tour player, every single LIV player found out on Twitter this morning or on CNBC as they were watching that this was happening. No one had been informed days before that there was going to be some sort of announcement. No one was informed the morning of that anything had been made. Apparently this deal has been in the works for the last 2-ish months, and not a single person has mentioned anything to anyone outside of this little room, out of this little group. I mean, kudos to those guys that they could keep a secret for that long. But the fact that you didn't tell anyone on either side what was going down, that's pretty pathetic. So what does all this mean for the players? Well, if I'm a PGA player right now, I am absolutely fuming at this decision, because I could have very easily took $200 million to go play for the LIV, and then less than 18 months later, I'm back on the same umbrella as the PGA. Like, that is, I would be very upset. Yes, I don't agree with the Saudis government and their past and everything to do with that, believe me. But Dustin Johnson said it himself during this Full Swing documentary. If someone offered you to do the exact same job you're doing, but you only have to do it half as often and you get paid like 5 times as much, you'd be a fool not to take that money. And I completely agree with DJ on that one. So if I'm a PGA player, especially if I'm one of these big names, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, maybe because of his injuries, I'm not sure about him, but Will Zalatoris was a big name that was rumored to go over. I mean, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, all of these guys they're so big and they were going to get so much money. But now they don't have the money, and now their boss, Jay Monahan, just sold them out to the same people that they didn't take this money from. Man, I would not want to be one of those big name PGA guys right now. They must be absolutely fuming at this. Now I have to admit, and I did say it a minute ago, I think over the long haul, this is going to be best for business because you do have all of this money from the Saudis now being invested into the PGA Tour. I mean, shoot, they got the PGA this current season that we're in now to up how much money can be won in all these tournaments. And if the Saudis are going to be in this now, that money's only going to go up that you can win. But that's the long haul. Right now, I mean, this is one of the biggest backstabs you've ever seen in history, let alone sports history. I mean, you've got this guy who came out and said that, you know, he had families that he knew that were directly affected by the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And he said that all of these guys that could have gone to live, he's like, you never have to apologize for being a PGA Tour player. And all of these pretty intense things he said about the LIV Tour and who was running the LIV Tour, and now he's just sold out to him as well. I mean, Jay Monahan, you are a big hypocrite, loser, every name in the book you want to get thrown at. You deserve every single bit of that criticism. I mean, yeah, I despise Jay Monahan. I don't understand how he's still there. He better be gone by the end of the day, honestly, because the PGA Tour just crumbled and it's all his fault. So where do we go from here? Well, it was said that the 2023 season for both the PGA and the LIV Tour are going to go as planned, as if nothing is happening. And then from there, we're going to get something new. But as far as to what exactly, we have no idea yet. There is a small part of me that thinks that all of this was completely rushed just to get someone some money, with the fact that they really don't have anything announced other than the two leagues are merging. So we'll see what happens with that. But I would be lying if I said I'm very intrigued to see what comes out of all this in the coming months. Do I think it was 100% scummy for Jay Monahan to sell out the PGA Tour like this? Absolutely, 100%. He let all of his players down that stuck by his side through all of this, and he let down a lot of people really in the golf world that kind of took the PGA side when this whole thing first came about. But in the long term, I think this is going to be a pretty decent move for the sport of golf just because there's more money in it. Maybe that leads to more academies or things like that to where younger players can pick up the game a little easier. Maybe you've got certain programs that can help out with that, things of that nature. So I don't necessarily think this is the worst thing for the sport as a whole, but in the short term, this is a very bad decision, especially for the PGA side. I mean, the LIV players are absolutely loving life right now. I mean, they took all of this money. Now they get to go back and play in all these PGA events is what it sounds like. So if I'm Brooks Koepka, DJ, all of these guys, I'm just living life right now. But we'll see what happens in the weeks and months to follow. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. This is a very interesting time for the whole sport of golf, not just certain this is the whole thing. Just a few guys kind of change the whole sport, it seems like, as far as the professional side of it. So very excited to see what happens. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button and share it with all your friends. And until next time, I will see y'all later. Take care.